hours from home, somewhere north of Tokyo. The DC2 is running well. I'm gonna do it. Today's the day. It's the start of finally doing the one thing that's really been holding the DC2 back. If you've been following since the beginning, you know what this is. The rear trailing arm bushings. So we got this little box from Spoon right there. Got some RTABs in there. Let's get the car up. Well, first things first. PFO1s are back on. The beautiful bronze CR Kais sold literally like the day I listed them. They were sold. So yeah, back on the PFO1s. And honestly, that's okay because they have really good tires on them. And we are going to be driving 2 or 3 hours away up to Nico Circuit. But while I work on the RTABs and have it up in the air, I want to try and correct this wheel gap as well. Kind of like 2 birds, 1 stone. You can see it's like a fat 1 finger gap here, top of the tire to the fender. But in back here, it's always been, doesn't look like 2, but it's substantially higher. So I'll get in there, I'll show you what it is to, actually adjust it. It's not a simple coilover setup. This car's always had a silly amount of rake, and then, once driving it around and then seeing it parked, you can really see it. There's a little bit of slope in the driveway here, but the rear is quite a bit higher. It's, yeah, not good. Today is Tuesday. The event is on Saturday, so I'm gonna try and chip away at this during the week. Let's see if we can get these rear trailing arm bushings switched because they sound terrible driving around. So in the wheel well now, taking a look, there is the rear trailing arm bushing, and man, flawless victory. This thing is absolutely dead. Totally severed, I think top and bottom. A while back on a video, I think, somebody made the very clear point that all the braking and suspension forces kind of all go through that bushing. So, it's not only the pivot point, but if you're trying to stop the car, this thing is doing everything. So a dead RTAB or rear trailing arm bushing, it's kind of a big deal. And the other item I want to address here is the old Bilstein, you guys, Bilstein, however you want to pronounce it. These are, I think they're called C-ring or C-link, I think C-ring, but they're adjustable via these grooves. And on the front, this collar is so you can only see the bottom groove. So I want to drop this down, but in order to do that, I think I have to compress the spring, and that'll take pressure off this sleeve. And then I can maybe slide that up and get to probably some sort of snap ring collar to come down, and then it'll, drop down a little more. So there's the main goals we're trying to accomplish. All right, back out here. Actually, 2 days later. Yesterday was spent just doing regular JDM Wheel Skill work stuff. Today, being Thursday, I have today and tomorrow to get this done so I can drive it on Saturday morning. Like I've said before in other videos, we really need 2 cars. So again, I gotta free up the car. Here's as far as I made it. I just kind of buckled down and got to work to try and sort this out because it's my first time doing it. But yeah, here's where we stand. So I started on the driver's side, and everything, big bolt wise, everything comes apart really well. What I actually got stuck on was I have ABS, and so this ABS sensor, all these, there's a ton of 10 mils holding all the brackets on for the wire. And I want to separate this whole trailing arm from the car. There's no connector for the ABS line until up past the tank. So I want to just drop the sensor from the hub and then pull this whole unit off. Everything else is loose. The RTAB bolts, the front the tow rod is loose, camber is loose, lower control arm is loose. So once I get this sensor off, then I can pull this and separate it. A while back I talked about that special clamp style that you can do it on the vehicle. And this is where it would really pay off, but it was $220 or something like that. But it would let you just kind of drop the front portion of the arm down here, and you're supposed to be able to press out and press in the bushing on the car, and then you just put that back up. So probably well worth the money, but the reviews were really hit and miss on it too, so I just figured I'll do it the hard way. Ha! What a relief. The one little 10 mil bolt that was seized and rusted and it'd back out and get tight and felt like it was gonna strip. 2 days of sitting with the penetrant on it. Oh, it just slid right out of there, no problem. And now the bracket's off. Another one that was really rusty, it came right out. So yeah, I didn't want to break all those 10 mils because I would have no way to remount the ABS sensor. So yeah, What a win. So with that, I think I can do all the big bolts and then try and drop the full arm. Victory is mine. At least 50% of the way. One side out. Just to touch on a few things if you're doing it yourself, you won't have access to get this bolt all the way out if you're under the car, so you got to take out on this side and then out of the car. You could do that now. And then on the car, in the corresponding kind of position where that mounts, that tow arm mounts, this, if you're in a cold weather rust prone state, this can be a real nightmare. I've seen. Hopefully their side goes just as smoothly, but the captive nut in here will seize or rust or break free, and then you kind of have to open up this whole pocket here in order to get that loose. So yeah, just a heads up, if you are in a rust prone area, just give yourself some extra time in case this, you know, kind of gives you a bit of a headache. And you can see the other bushings on the car, like it's solid in there, but totally fragged. Here's the camber arm. You can see the rubber in there's kind of all crumbly. It's gonna work for now, but definitely not the long-term fix. And then for the rear trailing arm bushing itself, you can see, man, you can see it's like totally loose in there. Get the mic down there. That squeaking noise I would hear when I was driving. Like, that's how much it was just kind of rubbing free in place there. Gosh, this thing is totally gone. So while these are still mounted on the car and the vehicle was at ride height with the weight on this rear arm, I slid the straight edge under there and then traced out the line you can see on the arm here with the marker, just to get an idea of how much this bushing rotates when it's in position on the car or with weight on it. Because there's some big debate about this. You either put them back in factory position or you clock them a little bit when you reinstall it. Basically any car that you lower or raise that has rubber bushings in it, all they ever say, or all you've ever heard is, hey, loosen all the arms, set it down, get weight on it, and then tighten the arms up. If you tighten them at the full droop position and then you put weight on the car, that rubber bushing is just being like torqued and has like preload bind on it kind of unnecessarily. So I feel like this is the same thing. Like Honda put this in this position for this car at the factory ride height. I and most other people are not going to keep this at the factory ride height, so I feel like clocking it as, you know, a little bit to get it more appropriate for your ride height is the move. So yeah, let me know your thoughts down below. This is widely contested, but being that I'm not going to be factory ride height, I feel like it's the right way to do it. So hopefully this angle works for you guys to illustrate it. My marker line is there, it's that shiny line. The gap from the straight edge up to that line is just the thickness of the marker, but as long as it's parallel to the straight edge, we're good to go. So you can see here we are, you know, parallel to the line in the unloaded position, off the car position, rotating my straight edge down to get parallel with my line drawn on the car. It's more like that. At the edge of the mount there, it's maybe like an 1/8 inch gap off of this side, so like maybe 3-4 mils that it would be clocked. So from the unloaded position to the loaded position, yeah, it's twisting counterclockwise about 3 or 4 mils, you know, that way. So good reference. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side just to compare, because these are so wobbled and blown out that there is some play in there. All right, let's hop over to the other side. Mega win. Side number 2 took a fraction of the time, especially after it soaked in the penetrant. I gotta shout out this stuff. LifeFlex is a generic store brand, but this stuff just freaking works so well. But yeah, out of the car now, both of them you can see are just absolutely fragged. This one separated here at the top 100%. The bottom is so loose. This one, yeah, like I said, it was separated at the top, but I did the straight edge here as well, and it came out to a very similar 3-4 mil gap for the clocking position. So that's what I'm going to do. And you can see the new Spoon bushings here. These babies are solid, like you can't get any flex out of them with your hand. It's just ridiculously stiff. So those are going to be a huge upgrade. They fit a wide number of chassis, There's your Spoon parts number. Made in Japan. Good stuff. So here's the setup. We have this contraption here that the previous owner left at the house. And I'm just going to use it kind of as like a brace table to support it, hopefully while I drive out the bushing, because I just don't want to be driving that metal into the concrete and just tearing it up unnecessarily. And then it'll also give space for the bushing to move. Tool for the job is big old hammer here, and we're just going to whack it out of there. Some things to keep in mind though, I made my little cheat sheet notes here. On the stock bushing, there's a skinny side and a fat side. The fat side is at the bottom, and it's kind of hard to notice, but on the Spoon bushings, it's the same. This is the skinny side and the fat side is down here. So skinny side at the top, fat side at the bottom. And then you can see there's a long and a short side of these tabs. Long side goes inside. So right now this is the outside of the car. So long side goes inside, and then for mounting depth, we just want the casing of the bushing to go in there so that it's flush with this outside rolled edge. And that's all you set it to depth-wise. And then like I was talking about earlier, clocking position, I want to clock it 3 to 4 mils for the left one. That's going to be clockwise, and for the right one, it's going to be counterclockwise. So hopefully I don't screw that up. But you can see on the brake dust shields here, they're clearly marked L, and the other one has an R on it. If you flip this over for the driving it out part, the bushing shell or casing there, it can slide this far before it contacts metal. So driving it out from the backside is the move. If you hit it from the outside, you're kind of immediately interfering with the actual metal of the arm. I went in for a little lunchtime motivation, did some YouTube just to double check like what do I plan on doing. You guys had all said, Steve, just use a hammer and drive it out. And so when I just looked again on YouTube, even the people who have the special tool to like do it on the car, they end up using a hammer to get it like set in there. So hammer's gonna be the way. Like I said, I'm gonna tripod you guys. Fingers crossed. Hopefully this goes smooth. Hey. You guys weren't lying. Good job. Holy cow, that worked out really well. So I'm pretty well in line with the line I made with the car loaded, the suspension loaded. So I want to drive this in there, but I also feel like I should kind of clean that out just so it goes in there smoothly. So yeah, I'll probably pause and reset here. I might just mark it to hopefully make my life easier. Oh yeah, clean all the schmutz out of there. That side down, line it up. That looks pretty darn good. We're going cockeyed. Maybe a little bit. I want to show you guys it going like just straight in there, but I think I might have to battle this for a minute. I might time lapse if this doesn't start going smoothly. Wow, so they weren't lying. These babies are bare. I'm still struggling with it. I'll show you kind of the things I've done to hopefully make it work out a little better. I've chamfered that leading edge to, that's sliding down in first, hopefully just to make it seat. You can see the kind of like cast lines on there. There's like ridges all the way around it. Obviously, or apparently, or I would guess that's for a really snug fit when it's in there. And that's probably really good, but I think it might also be making it extremely tight and difficult to start. I then around there. I just sanded that a little bit too, just to, you know, remove any extra coating that might be in there, making it a little thicker. Like, this tolerance fit is ridiculous. So I've been at it for a while. It's getting a bit mangled up. I'm beginning to think I should have bought a press, but holy moly, these live up to the hype of being not a fun job to do. And that's probably why in like all the how-tos, which is probably what's gonna happen here, where it's like, everyone's like, oh yeah, you just hammer it out. And then it cuts to these being like absolutely destroyed from being driven in there. And like, oh yeah, and there you go, it's all done. So anyway, we'll see how this goes. That's the update. It's not looking good. All right, at this point, I'm a bit desperate. I'm gonna try anything. I got the old sleeve on top of the new one. And right now, no matter what I do, even if I tap lightly around the new bushing, it'll just find a catch point, then pivot real hard, and then pop out of whatever side looked like it was gonna start. So I'm gonna sort of tape these together in order to keep them centered on each other. And then, then I got a little block here that I hollowed out a little portion of it, because you can see where that is sticking up above it. I don't want to put the pressure onto the bushing. I want it to go on the sleeves. Seems like I gotta chisel out a little more because it's still touching that, so I'll do that, and then we'll give this a shot. But at least this way I can drive straight through the middle and hopefully drive even force around the whole thing and get it to start, because right now it just won't start. Bushing lined up, got that hollowed out. Let's just try going right in the center and see what happens. Same thing, one side will go in, and then one side, just once it's off, it just won't go. So I gotta reset again. Son of a gun. That's how, see how lightly that pops out? It just gets wedged that much. Gosh dang it. Gosh dang it. Coming through about 13 mil, 14 mil on the back side, and the new one's sticking through about 13 mil. So I'd say depth wise we're pretty darn good. But if we flip it over to the face, you can see it's just destroyed. Like, I'm guessing I've smashed as much as it, as it should have gone through. I've already smashed that much out of it, that last mil. So, technically it's maybe just a whisker high there, but technically we're like as deep as we should be on this side. Yeah, so checking our angle from where it used to be, we've probably rotated about 2 mils versus the 3 to 4 that I wanted. And that's just because I was beating on this thing so hard that it was kind of out of my control when it finally set wherever it, whatever it went in was where it was going to be. So do I regret doing it this way? Like, not 100%. 85% of me says I wish I would have bought the stupid, regular press and just done it. The other 15% is like, hey, you got one of them in there, good job. But now I just know I need to beat the heck out of the second one to get it in there. And the only thing I really did different was move down to the concrete, so as much as like the impact and blow was going into the bushing as possible. And then it finally seated. It would just pop one direction or the other. I can't emphasize that enough. Like, these things are snug. Maybe it's, if you buy some generic just OEM replacement, maybe it's not. Maybe Spoon's a little bit, strong on their fitment, but like, oh, I beat the heck out of these things. So the hammer method works. It's just a crap job. It's done. Round 2 in the future, like I'm gonna do it with a press. So for now, I guess with whatever little time and daylight I have left, I'm gonna try and just beat that second one in there as fast as I can, and we'll see how it goes. But your boy feels defeated, even though it was success. Like working on cars isn't supposed to feel like this. All right, let's do the second one. I'm pretty f***ing over it. I don't f***ing swear on this channel, but I am pissed off. This f***ing thing. See all that shiny? Like I sanded it, I ground it down, and then as it was just, you know, getting smashed in there repeatedly, it like polished it out. That's how tight this is. I'm gonna grind this piece a lot more, because half of it, 10, 15 mil, whatever, it's not even gonna be in the casing when it's in there. I'm so over it. I just beat on this thing over and over and over, and all it does is go in, and then boop, and then go in, and boop, and it won't just seat in there. Heavily ground down even more. Again, it's gonna be sticking out of the thing anyway, so I'm just out of time. I gotta get the kids, like, I need a car. Stupid, like the most frustrating situation to be in when you just gotta do shit to get to car work. Well, that was real time, one cut. Magic there was just really chamfering the hell out of it, so it would just basically be started when you put it in there and tap, 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 tap. Before, it was just unbelievably difficult. You get it started one way and then it would just pop, and you could not get it to line up. So it's in there, it looks like hell, just like the other one. Using this, you got to watch out because it will slip off the edge, and then as you're beating on it, if you don't realize it, then you start, you know, driving into the inner rubber edge of the freaking bushing or whatever. Miraculously, the clocking came out to be basically spot on with what the other one was. Instead of like 3 to 4 like I was shooting for, it came out to like 1 to 2. It's a little bit to help me, you know, go in the right direction. I'm just happy they're in there. It's seated, you know, as deep as it should be. It's just, don't do it like this. If you're gonna do it like this, really just chamfer the hell out of them and really give yourself a start, because you can see on the backside, as it gets dark here, maybe you can't, but you can see everything that like I basically ground down, or whatever you want to say. Like I went back a little bit farther than I had originally. Everything there is sticking out. It's not seated in the actual arm. So you can get a little more aggressive on that. You're not going to lose a ton of support. There's still a bunch of material there around it. That would be, you know, that's my biggest takeaway. Also, try to get it, you know, like on the ground, so you're not obviously damaging anything, beating the metal against the concrete, but on the ground, so all of your impact is going straight into that sleeve. Or just buy a press or have someone do it. Like, God, this is stupid. Anyway, I want to get these painted. Out of time. I really got to go get the kids, so I'm gonna wrap it up here for today. I really want to get these painted today so I could chuck them back on. I still gotta set the ride height in the rear. I want to lower it a little bit. I got only tomorrow to get this done. And before everyone says, oh Steve, there's a car right behind you can use. Yes, that's fine. Using Shio's car, using the van, like it works, but I have to go and drop her off and pick her up, and that adds like an extra hour and a half or 2 hours worth of driving every day, and that just kills anything else that's going on. So, or just kills, you know, more time that is unnecessary. So having a functional car for me makes a huge difference. Gosh, Well, anyway, I'm glad you got to see it go in real time. Beat the living snot out of it. Rant, ramble, whatever, done. See you tomorrow. New day, new energy, past all the dramas of yesterday. And I'm gonna start it off by cleaning up the arms, get them painted. This like rust that you can see, surfacey rust around the dust shields there. It's visible on the car, and it's always kind of annoyed me because the calipers and the rotors and everything looks really nice and shiny. So yeah, we'll paint the arms as well just to give them a quick coat. But today is Friday. It's the last day to get this done. So I gotta get these cleaned up, put back in the car, and I still want to adjust the ride height on it. So yeah, let's get these done real quick. And for the OGs, it's been way too long since we got to spray paint anything, so chassis coat's coming back out. Chassis coat black. That's all you need to know for your car adventures in Japan. So while the paint dries, I moved over to the suspension. You can see my new spring compressors. Tell me if you can relate to this. Spends money to make a car look cooler, won't spend money for the tools to do the actual performance things. But truth be told, this was 5,000 yen, so I thought it'd be safer and it'd actually allow me to do this. And this was the a little fancier model, so it's got like this retainer, it's got these extra clamps here on the spring so it won't explode, I guess, or slip off, versus a very basic just 2 teeth. So I do feel good about that. There's not much room to work with, as you can see, because it's like the progressive spring, so these are very tightly wound, and then you have just a little bit of adjustment here. I can't get that one in here, so we'll see if I can get enough on this to try and loosen this collar down here. Fingers crossed. And that's where the suspension gets its name. You can see there's a snap ring right there. So I think these are called C-ring, Belstein C-ring shocks. So if I can bring that down, like I said on the front, this last groove is all that's showing. So I'm only gonna go down 2, so 1, 2 here. That might be the same, I guess, after that slips down. We'll go 2, I'm on stock arms. Hopefully that works out to be a good height. Hopefully this is not completely seized in there. I might eat lunch and come back, but yeah. Spring compressor, nice work. Purchases you forgot you bought for the win. Hopefully these work. These snap ring expander pliers. Come on, baby. So that's number 1. So I went down 2 and then I dropped the collar and I still had 2 bands showing. So now I'm gonna just drop it 1 more. And that gives me a 15 mil drop, which probably, I was saying I had a big 2-finger gap in the rear. That might bring me down to hopefully same as the front. Hopefully those are engineered to come out to be the same ride height if you put it on the same setting. So yeah, we'll see. I think that's hopefully gonna work out. And if not, now I got these babies if I really need to redo it. dark. It's on the ground. I just hammered down and got that as much as I could. Now all that's left is a test drive and make it there. Couple hours from home, somewhere north of Tokyo. The DC2 is running well. The ride height change, really pleased with that. It totally changed the look of the car. Instead of being like this all the time, the back end super high, like it's now pretty level. It's weighted down in the rear because I got all my tools in there, so it might be a little bit extra low right now. But yeah, the bushings, holy cow, what an improvement. Just two things, I knew they'd make a drastic improvement, but like, oh, cruises so well, it feels good at braking, it doesn't clunk, it doesn't squeak, and you know, the ride height change too kind of just changed how it feels as well. So instead of, you know, having that rake feel in your body, so super pumped. Oh, what a few days of getting it all ready, but totally worth it. Ride height might be squashed a little bit, but man, yeah, top of tire right now. The front's like a finger gap, so I think without all my tools in the back it might be okay, but whew. Old girl is finally doing the thing. I'm off to Final Bout Special Stage Japan right now. Catch that in the next video, or in the previous video. I'll probably have it up first, so it's on the channel. Almost home from Final Bout, and the DC2 has just been mobbing down the expressway, no problems. You know, speeds 120 kilometers per hour is like the cruising speed on the main expressway, so it does it no problem. Like, anyone who's been with the channel for a long time, for me, like, this feels like such a turning point. Like, we finally kind of crossed that threshold of making this thing not only legal, but like roadworthy, reliable. Like, in the back of my mind though, I'm still worried about the starter because that's the only thing that's still original. But to like drive down the road like this, like God, it's just so good. So for everyone who's stuck with me from the beginning of this build or joined throughout, like, heck yeah, like, oh, it's such a sense of relief or accomplishment, or maybe relief is the right word, that yeah, like, we're there, let's start enjoying this thing. Just you kind of perfect it from here instead of all this like major issue type work. So I really appreciate y'all. Just want to give you that update. It's made this like 6-hour round trip without issue. It feels so good. Catch y'all in the next one. Much love, be well.